Hey everybody, happy Friday. We have a super fun-packed episode today. At least I think so, because I don't know about you, Stephanie, but I have been loving all of the meltdowns going on from the left. I have so many fun clips for today, and I was super excited to record this episode.
I know. I'm excited too. I woke up a few times throughout the night, like actually thinking about it. I was like dreaming about it. It's so weird, but I was so excited. And I should probably mention I have my son that will not leave the room. So sorry for the background noise. We're just gonna go with it and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's life, right? So, speaking of life, you guys, if you're regular listeners, you know that I am teaching English to a group of seniors here in the Czech Republic, and they've all been following the election results very closely. And most of them grew well, most of them, all of them, they all grew up under communist rule with Soviet occupation of the Czech Republic. And so they were very concerned about Trump winning the election. And I try not to talk too much politics with my students, but the first thing they asked me yesterday was how I felt about the election. And they're so worried about how Trump's going to pull the US out of NATO, and then Putin's going to take over all of Europe. And I was trying to explain the America First movement. And they were saying, they don't agree with that because it's not good for Europe. And I said, well, don't you think that your country should put your citizens first? Like the Czech Republic, if your country was sending their military and their tax money and, just supporting other countries while letting people in their own country suffer, would you be okay with that? And obviously the answer is no. But again, I understand their perspective, but it was really cool to like try to explain how I do think Trump is the best bet for stopping the war in Ukraine, and how Trump is the only president where we ever had peace. And I think the coolest thing was I was explaining that this election is so different because it was not the typical left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. And even though Trump ran under the Republican ticket, like he's surrounded by former Democrats, libertarians. It's like it is a like moderate common sense American perspective. And I said, you have no idea how refreshing this is, because this is not something we've had in America, at least not in my lifetime, to have a presidential candidate who, I mean, I guess when Trump was last in office, but it wasn't the same because he didn't have the backing from these former Democrats and moderates. And I said, it's no longer about left versus right. It's about bringing Americans together. And that's what America First is.
Yeah,
And
it truly is like the unity party.
yes,
And what I
yeah.
don't get with Europe is like, do they not remember that in his first term, there was peace and they were not thinking about a nuclear war with Russia or Russia invading? And so it's like clearly his policies worked. It was that whole peace through strength. So, I mean,
But
things
it's
have
the
gotten so bad since
brainwashing.
then.
It's the
Yeah.
brainwashing of our media. I mean, it's very censored. What they hear in Europe is only what America wants them to hear. So, what have they heard for the last 4 years? How horrible Trump is. What did they hear while Trump was in office? The whole Russia collusion hoax. So, there's a perception there that's it's going to take some time for them to see the difference. And there is one senior in my class though. She's a Trump supporter, and she came up and gave me a hug, and it was just so sweet. And she's like, "I'm so happy for you."
Oh, that is
So
sweet.
it
They could
was.
write like whole psychology books on the brainwashing though.
Oh my God, I know.
And it's funny because on TikTok, like I have seen some of these super left liberals, not all of them, but there have been a couple that have actually like opened their eyes a little bit. Like one girl, she was saying, I am serious. Like, I really truly thought that everyone in America felt the way that I did about Trump and that everything the media was saying was absolutely 100% correct. And so she was completely shocked. And she's like, but obviously, seeing the whole world or the whole country vote for him, I was wrong. And like, most people were not admitting that, but this one girl did. And I was like, kudos to her. Like, I think she realized just how brainwashed she had been.
And I have respect for that. And
Yeah.
here's what's I find so frustrating. You have like, all of these social media influencers, the talk show hosts, the celebrities, these elites that make tens of millions of dollars every year that are having like complete fucking breakdowns, right? Like, I don't know if you saw Jimmy Kimmel was like close to tears when he was talking about what a terrible night it was for women and children and migrants and science and healthcare and journalism and justice and free speech and poor people and the middle class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like even for Trump voters, and they just don't know it yet. And then Stephen Colbert was like questioning his fundamental belief in the goodness of humanity. And then you had Bette Midler, she was going to drink Drano if Trump won. And then what do? They all throw temper tantrums, and then they start deleting their social media accounts. Like I see article after article and social post after social post of celebrities crying and elites threatening to leave the country. And it's like, it's the same people who said the same shit in 2016 and they never left. And these like mentally unstable hordes of people on social media. And I was going to play some clips, but I think everyone has seen most of these clips already of people just breaking down in tears. And it's like, here's what I have to say to these people, because it just, this is my unapologetic response. Okay. Own your shit. Like, have the balls to take the shit that you throw out to others and accept it back at you. Like, if you want to spread the lies and the propaganda and you want to act like a fucking victim and you want to break down in hysterics and threaten to leave the country, like, good, fucking do it. Like, don't just delete your social media account and hide in your bedroom and cry. Like, make good on your threats and fucking leave. And then while you're at it, every one of you weak fucks needs to take several hundred illegal migrants with you. Because you know what? You're a drain on the system, and nobody wants to hear you whine about how oppressed you are when you live in literally the freest country in the world that Trump wants to bring back to glory and build something better than we've ever had before. And if you're too weak and brainwashed to understand how fucking amazing that really is, please leave. Like, the border is literally open, right? It's been open for the last 4 years. It's going to be open for at least the next few months while Biden Harris is still in charge. So fucking leave, because the less our tax dollars have to take care of people who hate our country, the better it's going to be for the rest of us who love our country. Maybe home prices will even go down. Maybe inflation will decrease and families can afford to buy groceries again, because we're not going to be catering to the people who live here who fucking hate America. So you don't want to be here? Take your whiny ass out of our country, make good on your threat, and just leave, please.
Yeah, I think let them leave the country. And it's like, go ahead and delete your social media, please. Like,
Right.
and part of me thinks that the reason they're deleting it is they're probably getting a lot of comments that they don't want to get, because that's what I've seen from all these people who were supportive of Kamala. They all turned their comments off. So they're not getting the reaction that they wanted. And so they're going to go and like delete their account and throw a temper tantrum. It's so ridiculous. It's like you have probably hundreds of millions of dollars when you're talking about someone like Bette Midler. Go enjoy your life, like
Yeah,
give me a break.
exactly. And okay, I have to ask you about this one. Have you seen the 4B movement that's going around social media?
No.
Okay,
I heard the name, but I haven't actually seen this myself yet.
okay, this is fucking crazy, okay? It's it's based off a movement in South Korea. It's like anti-patriarchy. I guess it started back in 2019, and the 4Bs I think stand for like four South Korean words that translate into like no heterosexual marriage, no childbirth, no dating men, and no sex with men. So it's basically women who refuse to date, marry, have sex, or have children with men. And the reason they want to do this in America is to boycott gender inequality. So there's this push by the wackos on the left to take up this movement. And I guess it's all over TikTok and X. And I just want to read some of the comments to you, okay? So one chick says, doing my part as an American woman by breaking up with my Republican boyfriend last night and officially joining the 4B movement this morning. Another one said, cat lady era activated. There's no point in catering to men. They're going to hate us anyway. So let go. Stop catering to them. Another one said, it's time for American women to participate in our own 4B movement. If men won't respect our bodies, they don't get access to our bodies. Then there's the 4B movement better be in effect. Start decreasing the population and the economy. There's no country to run if birth rates start decreasing. Don't give in until they start listening. Then they'll start to panic. Let male loneliness become an epidemic since they hate us so much.
Oh my God. Like, okay, so this must be what this guy was talking about because on TikTok I saw this guy who's like, the leftists have gone so far left that they've looped around and now they're right. He's like, so now they're not going to just give their bodies away and they're going to like demand that men respect them. And instead of having an abortion, they're just not going to have sex or have protected sex. Like, oh my God, our mission is accomplished. And I was dying laughing because I'm like, how ridiculous. Like, it is so absolutely absurd. But it's like, just to throw in manifestation for a second, they are so focused on the fact that, oh, women are going to lose rights and everybody hates women, that is like literally what they are seeing in their life. And they are creating it. They're creating their own like worst nightmare. And what I have to say to that is like, you know what? This sounds really bad, but the problem will fix itself pretty quickly because these are not the people that are having kids. So this generation, it'll end.
Well, that's the best part because some of the best comments I saw were from women that were like mocking these women. And one user on X wrote, who knew we could end abortions with unstable, angry women pledging to join the 4B movement and stop having sex? And then there's this press secretary for the US College Republicans. And she said, I'll never understand how liberal women are so traumatized as to start the 4B movement when women in Afghanistan literally have less rights than a dog. And I want to point out something that's happening right now because Iraq's parliament is currently trying to lower the legal age of consent from 18 to fucking 9 years old.
Oh my
9.
God.
Yeah, to allow men to marry young children. And it's looking very possible because I guess the coalition that's pushing this in their government has the parliamentary majority right now. And it's literally a proposed legal change that's up for voting through an amendment to overturn the country's personal status law. If you want to look it up, it's called Law 188. And if this amendment is approved, not only will men be able to marry fucking 9-year-olds and have sex with them, but it will also deprive women of their right to divorce, their right to child custody, and their right to inheritance. So, this bullshit of like spoiled, entitled, unhinged liberal women in America crying about abortion issues that don't even exist and breaking down in complete hysteria about Trump getting elected and saying they're going to abstain from men for 4 years in protest of voting for Trump is just fucking ridiculous. Because if you want to know what true oppression is, go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, go to Iran, go to the fucking Middle East and try crying about your oppression there.
Well, yeah, and where are they going to go? Because literally, like, even Europe, even the most liberal countries in Europe have 12 weeks, up to 12 weeks that you could get an abortion. And
Yeah.
here, like, I mean, a lot of these women that are complaining, they live in places like New York, Washington, California, where you could literally have an abortion up to like when you're in labor. So
Yeah.
it's like, are you fucking kidding me? But it's so ironic because it's like, the same women that are always talking about how, oh, you're so privileged, you're so privileged. They're the ones that are privileged because
Yeah.
they have no idea how good they have it, but they're still going to find a reason to complain. But again, it's like just hilarious. Like the one post that said declining birth rates. And it's like, yeah, that is happening in America. It's been happening. So many women struggle from infertility. Remember that Casey Means? And she was
Yes.
saying how it was like staggering the infertility compared to 50 years ago. And so it's like, yeah, when you want to argue about abortion, when we have like all of these issues and then all those issues you listed in these other countries, it's like they just sound like spoiled brats. And I actually feel sorry for them because they're creating their own miserable existence. And I mean, but it is kind of funny to watch. I guess that's the sick part of me that like enjoys
I
it a little
know.
bit.
You know what was funny was Erin, she sent me a message and she's like, you know what my response is to this? She's like, I'm gonna start the 69 movement. And it's gonna be hot conservative chicks who are more than happy to have sex with real men. And it's gonna be better sex anyway.
I fucking love Erin.
I
I
know.
love her. But you know what? That's what I was thinking too. It's like, okay, so then your boyfriends are just going to go find conservative women. And okay, so there's this whole thing on TikTok that's been going on forever where people say that conservative women or just women on the right in general are better looking than women on the left. And, they'll always show the pictures of like the crazy looking, like left people that just, kind of like Kamala's stepdaughter and compare that to like
The
Laura
blue
Trump.
hair women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Ivanka or like girls like that. They'll do like a comparison. So, anyhow, there's this one girl that I follow, and I feel so bad. I cannot remember her name at the moment, but she's gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And she lives in LA and she walks around with like MAGA gear and stuff. And she loves pushing their buttons and just being like, yeah, your boyfriends want to date conservative girls and blah, blah, blah. And it's just funny. So, anyhow, after Trump was elected, she was walking around with her MAGA hat on. And some guy who's like, I don't know, maybe 60 and like looks very wealthy and everything. And he's walking his dog. And he goes up to her and tells her, you deserve to be raped for wearing that hat. And
Wow.
so it was, and she had it on camera. It made the Daily Mail. Like they were posting, like, wow, this guy who's supposedly all about protecting women is telling this woman that he hopes she gets raped. And it's just like, they just contradict themselves so much, but I think it's really showing how absurd all of it was. And they just bought into this like crazy narrative that doesn't exist.
Well, they're still buying into it because have you taken a look at what's going on at the Ivy League colleges since Trump has been elected? Like, they are catering to these student meltdowns. They're basically treating students, and at least to me, it seems like they're treating them like they're on fucking suicide watch. Like, oh, look out for each other and check in on your friends and make sure everybody's okay. And like one student at Columbia, posted a screenshot on X of an email that was sent out by one of the professors that said that grades were going to be swapped out if they score higher on the final exam than their upcoming midterm. And this is going to be in recognition of the increased stress that some of the students might be feeling because of the election results. And then another professor just like canceled classes altogether and said that the current events would make it difficult to concentrate. And then this one like fucking threw me. Georgetown University or Georgetown School of Public Policy, right? This is where the students go who want to be the future diplomats and policymakers of America, right? Well, they gave all the students a day off from classes and they told them it was a much needed break and that they should get together and practice mindfulness activities and eat snacks while they decompress from their trauma at the school's quote self-care suite. So Stephanie, I have to read directly from this article from the New York Sun because it's fucking hilarious. So the director of engagement, Jacqueline Clevenger, she sent out an email to all the students, and in the article says, "quote Miss Clevenger attached a day-long agenda that started with tea, cocoa, and self-care at 10 a.m. and ended with snacks and self-guided meditation at 5 p.m. Other activities included coloring and mindfulness exercises and Legos and coloring." Now, again, this is at a fucking university, a college, an Ivy League school for people who want to study public policy. It's fucking insane to me.
Well, this is how we got in this issue in the first place, is all these
Mhm.
young people being indoctrinated. And it's like, let them act this way because this is exactly why people like me that have smart kids with a 4.0 GPA will never send their kid to a school like that or any money to a school like that. And it's interesting too, because among males of that age, there's a huge shift to like the far right. And,
Mhm.
they kept saying, like, well, young women, they're all, voting left. Well, that is true to an extent, it was not as big as the media was portraying. There's a lot of young women who went right as well. And the videos that I've been seeing on TikTok, and maybe just because the algorithm, it's showing me like what I want to see. But I know a lot of these did make various news outlets, but like there was one frat house, and I mean, there's like hundreds of kids behind like the main kid on stage, and he's like, hit it. And they put on the YMCA, and they're all doing like the Trump dance, like the and like just partying. And then this other video I saw, this guy's like, okay, it was like 2 a.m. He's like, okay, so it looks like Trump just got in. This is what's happening at my university. And I'm expecting to see like chaos and riots. Everyone's running into the courtyard screaming, USA, USA. And I was like, this gives me so much hope that yes, the Ivy League schools are insane, but that I could still send my daughter to like a normal school, probably here in Florida, that isn't trying to indoctrinate our kids. So that was really good to see, because seeing this Ivy League stuff, it really makes me mad. And they're just raising weak individuals.
Well, what was interesting about this too, and someone pointed this out in an article I read, was like the shit going on at Columbia. This is the university that let these anti-Semitic protests go on for months and months and like actually put students in danger, right? And now
Yeah.
we just have students that are emotionally incapable of handling Trump being elected. And speaking of emotional incapability, did you see any of AOC's like hour-long rant on Instagram? She was like reading comments from her subscribers about how they're not okay and she's going to talk them through this devastating experience, and she pushed this narrative of a national abortion ban that Trump will sign into office or sign into law if Republicans get control of the House and the Senate. And I mean, she just rambled on for an hour, and I mean, the brainwashing is just so insane.
She's going to look so stupid when that doesn't happen, number one. But number two, not only has he said multiple times he's not going to do that, but he announced he's going to make sure that insurance companies pay for IVF, which is like a huge thing for women. I almost went through it at one point in time, and it was going to be like $40,000 for like the first try, which is like a lot of times unsuccessful, and it's all out of pocket. And he's saying he's going to have insurance companies pay it. So it's like they're completely running lies. But I have to play you this clip because AOC needs to look at her own district, okay? Because this clip, this is from ABC News, so like the Kamala Harris network, basically. And this woman is talking about how Democrats like AOC need to pay attention and understand why record numbers of voters in New York and New Jersey flipped and voted for Trump. So listen to this, it's great.
Democrats need to learn from this loss. I think it's way too soon for us to really draw any conclusions other than we have to take serious stock of how we speak to people who used to be in our base, right? People who used to take for granted. African American voters, Latino voters, we took them for granted for as long as I've been involved in politics, which is 30 years. We promised them the world to get their votes on election day, and then didn't really come through for them the way that I think they expected us to come through for them over the years. I don't know that if you see these margins in, for example, New Jersey, where Donald Trump lost by 5 points. That is the smallest margin since 1988, when George Bush actually won New Jersey. When you see these kinds of margins coming out of the Bronx, which is a predominantly African American and Latino borough in the city, when you see 30% growth between 2024 for Trump in Manhattan, when you see that kind of growth in Queens and in Brooklyn, I mean, he grew everywhere in Democratic cities like New York and Democratic states like New Jersey. That tells me that this isn't that all of a sudden these voters fell in love with Donald Trump. They're sending a message to their party bosses. They're sending a message to the party leadership, to their governors, and saying, we are deeply, deeply unhappy with you. And we are sending a message to you that we're not going to be taken for granted anymore. So if I were Kathy Hochul, who's running for governor again in 2 years, presumably. If I were whoever's running for mayor again next year in New York City, if Eric Adams doesn't run because he's under indictment. If you are whoever's running for governor in New Jersey as a Democrat, I would really take stock of what I saw yesterday and remember that these are not voters that we just take for granted, promise them the moon to get them to the polls, and then kind of say, okay, we're not going to focus on the issues that you really want to focus on. I've sat through countless focus groups in those two states over the last few years, and I will tell you there's palpable anger, even among primary Democratic voters of color at the Democratic Party, and that is something Democrats really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, maybe these people are upset when people like AOC want to sit here and use their time and energy to bitch about Trump when there's real issues happening in New York City that are affecting their everyday life. But this is what's so great, Tara. Like, it makes me so happy because it's like not only did Trump win the Electoral College, he won the popular vote, he won every single swing state, but also in these blue cities and blue states, he had a massive turnout. Like, even though they still ended up blue, you had California that shifted 12 points to the right. And when you look at like the counties in California, a bunch of the counties flipped red. There's only a handful left that are blue. Illinois shifted 9 points to the right. New Jersey and New York moved 11 points to the right. And as she said, Manhattan was like 30 points. So AOC, like maybe it's not everyone else that's the problem. Maybe it's you and the Democratic Party, you know? And I don't know, like I've been seeing a lot of people go on these different media outlets and these clips on TikTok and share that like they kind of I think a lot of people are having this realization that they've been lied to by the media, that the polls were absolutely false and we can't trust those anymore. And I think some people are willing to have that conversation. But then, of course, you have the other people that are just going online and screaming and crying, which is why I'm not showing clips of those.
Yeah, and you know what? While you were talking, I decided to look it up because I haven't checked today to see where we stand with like what's going on with the House.
Hmm.
And I, how is it that like fucking Arizona and Nevada results still aren't in for the presidency number one? It's like what,
Yeah.
3 days later? And then the House, as of right now, um, it's 199 for Democrat and 211 for the GOP, but they're not close to being done either, which again, I don't really understand.
Well, I don't either because if you got the ballot, like they don't have separate ballots for the
Right.
president and the representatives. And so I don't understand if they can count the ballot for the president and we know that he won, then why are we still waiting on the House? The only thing I can think of is they're trying to pull some shady shit so that it's not a Republican House, Senate, and presidency.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I haven't really heard a lot from Trump's team on it either, even though I know like they're on it, they have their lawyers in place, but it's like this is ridiculous. Why would it take that long? I did see yesterday another Senate seat flipped. So like I don't know if that's the last one or one of the last ones, but there was another Republican that overcame the Democrat seat. And I don't remember, I want to say it was Michigan, maybe.
The Senate results right now is 45 Democrat, 53 GOP.
Yeah. So this was the 53 number.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what
So
I
it's
saw last night.
the days Democrats lost 4 seats and Republicans gained 4 seats in the Senate. And it's showing in the House that Democrats lost 2 seats, Republicans gained 2 seats, but there's still like apparently dozens of outstanding seats yet. So again, I don't understand why that's taking so long. But the other thing that I'm surprised by is there haven't been that many protests. Now, there
Yeah.
have been some, like New York, obviously, Chicago, Philadelphia. I saw one where these idiots were chanting, racist, sexist, anti gay, Donald Trump, go away. And it's like, you idiots don't even know what you stand for. You don't even know what you're saying because that's not what fucking Trump stands for. But I'm really surprised that I haven't seen more. Like,
I know. I am shocked. I mean, and I think it's because I think even some of the Antifa people voted for him, like he flipped a lot of people. Um, and so you don't have that, but I have seen, and maybe it was in response to them saying, that he's like anti-gay and stuff, because I've been seeing a lot of like the Gays for Trump posting videos of Trump throughout not only his presidency, but before his presidency, where he's been very like pro gay marriage. And one video that's going viral right now was his message at the UN when he was president, where he sat there and told everybody, we cannot criminalize this. This is barbaric. There needs to be changes in the world where people can be gay and not be murdered, not be jailed. And I mean, he was like the first person ever to say that at a place like the UN. But then they're going to sit there and say he's anti-gay. Like,
Right.
that was a ballsy thing to do. Obama didn't do that.
Well,
Biden didn't
meanwhile,
do it.
I was going to say, you look at stuff that Biden has said in the past, and it's
Mhm.
very clear that he is sexist and racist.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just like again, they're misinformed, and what do you do when you don't stand for anything, you don't have any facts, you name call. That's all they
Yeah.
have. And it's
But
sad.
I do have to play this clip because I saw this. It was so awesome. Pennsylvania District Attorney Larry Krasner. Like, this was, I think, while people were going to vote, he gave a press conference and he basically told everyone not to fuck with the election process and not to try any election violence. And it's a short clip, but it's fucking epic.
But I also want to be clear. Anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out. Anybody who thinks it's time to insult, to deride, to mistreat, to threaten people, F around and find out. We do have the cuffs, we do have the jail cells, we do have the Philly juries, and we have the state prisons.
Is that awesome or what?
I fucking love that. I love it. That's amazing. That's like our sheriff in Polk County. He always makes national news because he says stuff like that. And it's like someone needs to say it. And I think most people are like sitting there giggling, like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
And then the other thing that I keep seeing in the news is like all these reports about how many people are applying for passports and wanting to leave the country, right? Like we
Like,
talked about at the
bye, see you
beginning. Yeah,
later.
exactly. But there's reports too that like all these elites are worried because I saw multiple articles about these attorneys and advisors to some of the nation's richest people that are saying their clients are all telling them they want to have a second passport so they can immigrate to foreign countries and leave the United States. And this is like the top tier elite wealthy class. And I
Like
was
the
listening.
people on the Epstein list and the Diddy list. Yeah, I
Yeah,
bet they do.
exactly. Exactly like that. So I was listening to Real AF yesterday and they were talking about like the fucking meltdown that's taking place on the left. And Andy had something really interesting to say. So I want to play this clip about what he thinks is happening.
Dude, they're melting down. And
Well, dude, why do you think they're melting?
because they know they're gonna get held accountable.
No, that's not why. I'm very concerned about Trump actually doing the things he says he's going to do in terms of holding people accountable. There are crimes against humanity have been committed. We can go on and on and on and on and on. The reason these people are freaking out, the reason they're throwing tantrums, the reason that, and this is very, very, very important for every single American to understand. The reason these people are freaking out and the reason they're saying Trump's going to put me in a camp or they're going to kill us or whatever they say, because that's what they would do to you. That is what they would do to you if they have control over you. That is a fucking fact. So the reason that they're so scared is because they know what they would be okay with happening to you. So before you go thinking that these people who say this crazy shit are your friend and you want to unite with them, you better remember what they were willing to do when they had the power.
That's real, man.
I'm all for Everybody of common sense unifying. I'm all for Democrats, Republicans, centrists, everybody getting together. But these elite tyrants at the top that have been talking this crazy shit, they have to be held accountable because it's not going to fucking stop. Yeah.
Okay.
That was like a mic drop moment. I was like,
Yes.
oh yeah. My mom and I were talking about that when we went to our celebration breakfast. And, we were just talking about how like everything feels so different now and there's like so much hope in the air and everything like that. And my mom's like, I hate to be negative, but I just wish that they would pay the price and there would be some accountability. And that's what I was saying. I was like, I want to see criminal charges. That's what I want to see. Lock them up.
Okay, well, listen to this, okay? Because Trump spoke last night about how he's going to dismantle the deep state. And this
Ooh.
is a fucking epic clip.
Deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every inspector general's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on. It's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. Is that not epic?
Music to my ears. I cannot wait for my mom to hear that. She'll be so excited. But he's been like, he's had to plan this for years, like his revenge. They're calling it like the biggest political comeback in history. And that's like I really think everything he just said, he means 100%, and he will make it happen, and he will probably make it happen quickly. So that is amazing.
I really hope so. And it's like, while all this is going on, the left is just, what are they doing now? They're playing the blame game, which is so insane because they're blaming everybody. They're blaming Biden for running for reelection in the first place or for not stepping down. And like, this is totally, well, it is relevant because so when Biden gave his address, what was it, Wednesday night, where he was, after Trump's win, did you listen to him?
No, I
Okay,
didn't see any of it.
I want to play part of this, and I want you to tell me what you think. Oh, wait, let me get through the clapping.
I know, I hate that. It's in
Yeah,
every clip.
good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole clip, but just that short part that you heard. What do you think?
Well, first of all, does that not sound like the old Joe Biden?
Yes.
Like strong voice and like maybe knows what's going on. Like interesting. And it sounds, I mean, maybe he's got that like adrenaline. Maybe he's happy that Trump won because they went after him. They kicked him out.
He sounded happy. He
Yeah.
sounded happy and totally cognizant, and his
hmm
words were clear. And my first thought was like, is this a fuck you to the left for ousting him?
Probably because just imagine being him and thinking like, you motherfuckers got rid of me. And then she failed miserably. Like he could have definitely gotten more votes than she did looking at the results. I mean, it was so bad. And so he's
Yeah.
probably like, what the hell?
Yeah, and now like they're blaming everybody, right? They're
Yep.
blaming, like I said, they're blaming Biden himself. They're blaming George Clooney for encouraging Biden to step down. They're blaming Obama for pushing Biden out. They're blaming Kamala for choosing Walz over Shapiro. And I don't know if you know this, but Walz even lost to Trump in his own county where his family has lived for 20 years.
That is amazing. Amazing. You know, it's like I feel like we're going to see them all eat themselves now because they're
Yeah.
all panicking and they're going to all try and save themselves by pushing the blame onto someone else. And I feel like that is exactly what I've been seeing left and right, where you have the leftist mainstream media that instead of taking any accountability themselves for brainwashing people, they're just putting it all on the Democratic Party. And it's just like crazy to see. So, that MSNBC show, Morning Joe,
Yeah.
it's like got to be one of the most leftist. Like they hate Trump. They hate him. They're the ones that were like, "Oh, Joe Biden is a young spring chicken." Like hasn't, you know what I mean? Like they're just so full of shit. So they've been like one of the worst in pushing the false narrative. Well, listen to what they say now.
Many questions for the Democrats to answer, but one of them, the one that I just saw, that's going to be staring them in the face for some time if they don't do something about it, is that 45% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump. 45. We've all been talking about a new Republican Party. There needs to be a new Republican Party. This morning, this is about as bleak as any time for Democrats since the so-called 1984 San Francisco Democrats. It's time for the Democrats to take a good, long, hard look at how this happened. And if they just say Trump bad, Democrats virtuous, they're going to keep losing because this, again, is so widespread. This is not about just Donald Trump. This is about the Democratic Party and being radically disconnected from the rest of the country. Look.
I was listening to that and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, this guy has done nothing but Trump bad, Trump bad. And now he's saying how, oh, the Democrats shouldn't have done that.
Okay, wait, that was Joe Scarborough, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he also did an episode where he had Reverend Al Sharpton on, where he basically blamed Black and Hispanic voters for the Democrats losing. So listen to this.
Democrats need to be mature and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny, but it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men. Right. It's misogyny from Black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a Black woman as president of the United States.
They don't want a Black woman as president of the United States.
I am telling you, they are the racist ones. Everything they say is like fucking racist. Like if Donald Trump said any of the comments that they say about like these Hispanic voters and Black voters, like they would be calling him racist. It's crazy, but it's like, look at what has happened over the past few years. They have gone after parents at school board meetings. They've gone after Christians and Catholics. They've gone after women with the whole Title IX stuff and letting men in sports. And now they're gonna go after Blacks and Hispanics. Like, maybe learn your lesson and stop going after everyone in the country. I mean, it's ridiculous. They've gone after Jewish people. Like, it's like nonstop. It's like every area of people they have attacked, and now they're wondering, why did this happen? Oh, it's because they're all misogynist. Well, I'm sorry. As a woman, I can say with absolute certainty that Kamala did not lose because she's a woman. She lost because she's
Right.
a fucking idiot and a radical extremist. That's why she lost. It has nothing to do with her gender. And I thought that we can't even define genders anymore. So what the hell? But like, it's crazy. There's so many of them. So another one is CNN. And again, CNN is like, I don't know what they're doing, if they're just really trying to change the game because they've lost so many views. But I'm going to play this clip of a guy kind of saying the same type of thing.
We need to recognize that over half of America feels very strongly about the things that Donald Trump feels strongly about, right? A secure border, the economy, crime. It may not be a perfect messenger, but the message resonates. Democracy is a luxury when you can't pay your bills. And I think, there are a great deal of Americans tonight who are sitting back and saying that they view as the elite and kind of sneering and saying, we told you so. We're not garbage. We're hardworking people. We believe in these things, right? People don't like to be talked down to. This coalition, this is Hispanics. Trump is crushing in Hispanics, the Hispanic vote in Pennsylvania, right? Allentown, we were talking about how, the Puerto Ricans have come out. He's winning those votes because you know what those people care about? They care about security. They care about economy. They care about those things around the kitchen table.
Literally everything has to be about Hispanics, about like a rate, like everything is racist to them.
Yeah,
but now they're
apparently,
seeing like, if he's so racist, then why are they all voting for Trump? I don't know. Maybe
exactly. Like apparently his comedian that made the racist jokes didn't ruin his campaign.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. And so one of the things he said was people don't like to be talked down to. Okay, so listen to this clip from Sunny on The View, how she is talking down to the women that voted for Trump.
Voting for the vice president. What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him. And you have, and Black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president. Right. So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms? And why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his community? Women like being called uneducated white women. I think the economy matters, national security matters. But when you put people in these boxes, I think that's a takeaway from this race.
I don't think that women like to be called uneducated white women. Like, yeah, she didn't say working class or middle class. She says uneducated. And it's like, no, these are the working class people that make up America, the middle class that the Democrats are supposed to stand for. And this just shows they don't. They've become the party
Right.
of the rich elites of the Ivy League universities, and anyone else is just uneducated, peasants. It's
These are the
like,
same people who think that Black people can't get a driver's license,
yeah.
you
It's like,
know?
who is the real party of the bigots? Definitely the people on the left. And I just thought that sounded so condescending.
Yeah, uneducated white people. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But CNN did an interview with this Democratic strategist named Julie Roginski, and I want to play a clip of that because this is why she thinks Kamala lost the election.
Julie Roginski, I want to go to you on this because, of course, he is making the speech at the White House against this backdrop of a lot of finger pointing right now in the Democratic Party. Some who are saying, look, had President Biden not announced, to try to get reelected, and we all know how that transpired later on, perhaps this wouldn't be the situation. And we'll never be able to know, right? What do you say to that? I'm going to speak some hard truths to my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It is the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively to voters. We are not the party of common sense, which is what the message that voters sent to us. For a number of reasons. We don't know how to speak to voters. When we address Latina and language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do. It makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do. When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus at Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university, and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right? And so on and so forth. When we put pronouns after names and say she, her, as opposed to saying, you know what, if I call you by the wrong pronoun, call me out. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. But stop with the virtue signaling and just speak to people like they're normal. There's nothing I'm going to say to Michael that I'm not going to say to you, that I'm not going to say to somebody else. I speak the same language to everybody. But that's not what Democrats do. We constantly try to parse out different ways of speaking to different cohorts because our focus groups or our polling shows that so-and-so appeals to such and such. That's not how normal people think. It's not common sense. And we need to start being the party of common sense again. Joe Biden is not responsible for that. Neither is Kamala Harris. It is a problem that Democrats have had for years. I've been banging the drum on this for, I don't know how, probably 10 years, if not longer on this. We need to get back to being the party of common sense, that people look at us and say, we understand you. We appreciate what you say because you speak our language. And so
Too late because our party is now the party of common sense.
Yeah, Trump created a new party, and it's crazy. It's like, we've said this so many times before, but the Republican Party growing up, I always thought of the party of rich elites, and now it's like that's what the Democrat Party has become, and the Republican Party is now the party of the middle class, of common sense, of unity, and it's just so fucking glorious to see all these people being called out on it.
Yes.
Now, I want to get your opinion on the statement from New York Attorney General Letitia James on Trump's victory, because I was like, what the hell? So listen to this.
President-elect Donald, I congratulate the President-elect Donald Trump. And if possible, we will work with his administration. But we will not compromise our values or our integrity or our principles. We did not expect this result, but we are prepared to respond to this result. We have been working both in my office and with other
Democratic AGs across this country to make sure that we would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights. So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks.
Is she like literally threatening him?
Letitia James will not compromise her integrity. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, like she is lucky she's not in jail already. I mean,
I don't.
what the and she's gonna like literally that to me that sounded like a threat.
How did she get reelected is fucking beyond me. But listen to this fucking epic response from Trump's lawyer, Mike Davis.
Just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time. And we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike.
I love it. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. And I just feel like, yeah, they're going to go for it. Like they're not going to hold back this time. Now, you've probably seen these posts. They're going viral. And it's something interesting to point out. So the post says Democratic vote in 2008, 69 million votes for Barack Obama. 2012, 67 million votes for Barack Obama. 2016, 66 million votes for Hillary Clinton. 2020, 81 million votes for Joe Biden. 2024, 67 million votes for Kamala Harris. So you have 69, 67, 66, 67, and then 81. So basically what they're saying is like, that's interesting. 2020 is this like massive outlier. How did that happen? And if it was all about Trump, well, then why didn't we see that same spike in 2024? You know, like it makes you question the 2020 election even more, like something shady happened.
Yeah, and the best part is this was like liberal whining trying to say that the Republicans are cheating, and it comes back around on them to show that it's basically the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah. This is totally random, but before I forget. So you know how we talked about Peanut the squirrel? What was that? Monday? I think it was Monday. Well, did you see the video during her concession speech? A squirrel ran across the stage.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. And you can see it's like maybe like 5-6 seconds. You can see the squirrel going across the stage. And people are saying like it's the ghost of Peanut haunting the Democratic Party after they euthanized him. And maybe it's not real, but I thought it was fucking hilarious.
That is priceless. Peanut the squirrel, rest in peace. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, you know, aside from everything happening on social media and, you know, with all of the media and their reaction, it's interesting because all of the big tech leaders are like immediately getting behind Trump now. So you have like Jeff Bezos posted, quote, "Big congratulations to our 45th and now 47th president on an extraordinary political comeback and decisive victory. No nation has bigger opportunities. Wishing Donald Trump all success in leading and uniting the America we all love," end quote. Then you have Apple CEO Tim Cook, who said, quote, "We look forward to engaging with you and your administration to help make sure the United States continues to lead with and be fueled with ingenuity, innovation, and creativity." And then you have Mark Zuckerberg saying, "We have great opportunities ahead of us as a country. Looking forward to working with you and your administration." We have Sundar Pichai, I don't think I said that right, CEO of Google parent company Alphabet. And he congratulated Trump for a decisive victory and said he's, quote, "committed to working with his administration to help bring the benefits to everyone." I feel like they're all like shitting their pants and are like, you know, going to kiss his ass now because they know they're all screwed because they have censored the American people. and basically, went against the First Amendment, and now they're all scrambling to like get on his good side. So I
Yeah,
thought that was kind of
exactly.
funny. But the same thing seems to be happening with leaders around the world. So you have the leader of Hamas that's calling for an immediate end to the war. You have Xi Jinping, the leader of China, that congratulated Trump and said that he respects the American people's choice and he hopes to strengthen communications and, quote, find a correct way for China and the United States to get along in the new era so as to benefit both countries and the world. And now Putin's team has since come out and said that he is ready now for peace talks. And so I think it's just funny how it's been a couple of days and the whole world all of a sudden just starts to fall in line with Trump once he's elected. But I'm not surprised because when he was campaigning Trump, he did a podcast with Patrick Bet David. And while he was on there, he was asked, like, what do you think is going to happen once you're elected? Are they going to go crazy and try and push it into war before you get in the White House? And he said that while he is president elect, he'll have peace talks and an end to the war. And like, he's not even waiting to get in office to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's already spoken with Zelensky, he's already spoken with Putin, but I want to go back to something you said before about all these big tech leaders that are suddenly, oh, so happy, congratulations, right? Because I'm not surprised to hear, Xi Jinping congratulating him or Putin congratulating him because they've worked with him before and they know what they're up against. And with all of these, if you look at like the way big tech's responding and how easily, like when Kamala did give her concession speech, how the talk about peaceful transfer of power, and the Obamas when they gave their speech accepting the Trump victory, and were very, what's the word I'm looking for, not professional but very elitist, with their answer, very politically correct with their answer. And then Biden's speech about the peaceful transfer of power, and I just think it's weird because it's just too nice. And as usual, like Andy Frisella and I think the same. And I want to play a clip of what he said on his show because I think this is something that we need to be aware of. And I'm not trying to be negative, but the realist in me wants to share this.
I also think that it's very important for people to remember Donald Trump is not inaugurated. Okay. He's not in office. And I personally have told you guys, I didn't believe they're going to let him in office. All right. So just because he won the quote unquote election, there's a long list of things to go. And I'll tell you what sets off my spidey senses about all of this is that they are all acting fairly reasonable. And it's for one of two reasons. One, they are either terrified and they know they're fucking caught and they know that they've got to step in line or they might that's their only chance to not get held accountable. Or two, they have a backup plan to do something terrible to Trump. Now, remember, these people fucking tried to kill Trump.
Twice.
Okay. So to try and, assassinate Trump between now and inauguration is not out of line. And a very high likelihood, in my opinion, is what I've been saying, where they try to do something and blame it on Iran and get everybody to go pro-war towards Iran.
Okay, so like that's how I'm feeling because the skeptic in me wonders, like, the response has just been too smooth, right? And later in this conversation that I didn't play part of this clip, DJ was saying something that I brought up on Wednesday, which was like, God, this feels so amazing, right? I mean, I've been on a super fucking high since the election results, but we still have over 2 months to go. And a lot can happen. I mean, look at the shit the left has pulled over the past few months, just putting Kamala in office and getting rid of Biden and that entire coup and all the illegal shit they've done. And just a few days ago, Kamala and Biden were comparing Trump to Hitler, calling the American people garbage. And now they're pushing for this peaceful transition of power. And there's no angry rhetoric. And it's these very like calm and peaceful speeches. And I just don't buy it. And so my point with this is like, I will continue to celebrate and be excited for the greatness that I believe is to come with Trump in office. And I have so much hope for our country. But I still think we need to remain vigilant because there's no telling what may happen between now and then. And remember, Kamala is the one that has to certify the election because she basically leads Congress in the certification process. And it just feels like this has been too easy.
Okay, so I don't know for sure because I haven't done my own research, but remember Shipwreck, we had her on the podcast a while back. She's really good at like diving into the laws and everything else. She did a post where she was saying that they snuck something into one of the bills, the Republicans did, where she is not, and she can't certify it or decertify it. Like,
Really?
yeah, they made a change to the rule where she won't be able to do that. But I do agree with you and with Andy. They tried to kill him twice. Like
Right.
they will try again if they get the opportunity. And that's why I was saying, like, he needs to just rest up, go in a bunker, get his plan
Pull a
together, and getting
Biden.
his
Pull a
people.
Biden.
Yeah, because it's like I really do worry about that. But the thing that gives me hope is like my intuition, I guess, and the feeling. So you know how like we've been saying it feels different now. Like it feels like something shifted. It literally, quite literally did. So you can track the Schumann resonance, which is like the Earth's frequency. And so I check it like every day. I follow people. It almost looks like a radar. The day of the election, it was off the charts, like literally off the charts. And so everyone's saying, this was like a timeline shift or something where maybe we were headed for like a really bad path and then something happened that day because the earth's magnetic frequency it just went wild and it felt different ever since. And like so I just think it's weird because there's the whole age of Aquarius thing. You've got Trump calling it the golden age, and then he put out a video saying to celebrate you know, since 1776, we're going to hold these celebrations starting in 2025. And 1776, like you remember I was talking about that with the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
I don't know. I just feel like we are in a new era. And I think that I just have a feeling everything will be good. But I do think he needs to be so cautious. And I'm sure he is because they may try to do something. I mean, they're all screwed.
How do you have, I think it's just like, how do you have this party that has spent the last 4 years painting him as a dictator who's been pushing this narrative to suddenly turn around and say they want a peaceful transfer of power? It's just,
Yeah.
there's something that doesn't make sense there.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. And I don't think that Trump or any of his people are gonna like trust them for 1 second.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could be trying to kiss his ass, hopefully save themselves while they also are getting their passport ready to head over to Ukraine where there are no extraditions. I don't know.
Right. Where all their money already is anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna ride this good feeling and see where it goes. And I mean, there's so many like positive things that I feel like I'm hearing every day. And yeah, fingers crossed he actually gets inaugurated. There's no crazy coup or anything, and all is well with the world. All right. Well, that was fun. And we'll keep everyone posted. I hope that that gives everyone like just some good feelings for the weekend. And yeah, everyone enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks for tuning in.